Again, really glad to be here today to talk to you about, from a different perspective, managing and looking at what we call which I'll show it to you, exploring the research challenges and advances in pharmaceutical sciences. And I will take this topic from a different perspective, more or less the prelude for the problem. And we are so much, engrossed, in the scientific aspect of that. But at the end of the day, it is the human mind and the human capital that makes the difference. And particularly, for some of you who pay attention to the pharma industries, you recognize that I would say the previous 20 years, you will see a lot of what we call you inventing your future. But in the last, 10, 15 years, it's no longer the case. It's buying your future. It's merging for your future. And why is that? Because the pipeline is drying up. And why the pipeline is drying up? Because we are not cultivating future scientists the way that we have done in the past. It's getting more and more difficult to do that. So today we're going to examine some of the issues and how do we address that. Okay, so below the waterline, what does it mean? Pharmaceutical sciences. As you all recognize that the science doesn't invent itself. It's the scientists. And where do they come from? Where do they actually come from? They don't come from a tree. So today we're going to talk about exactly what we need to do from an institutional perspective. So the challenge of cultivating the next generations of pharmaceutical researchers is the topic of my discussion today with you. So what are the questions? First of all, we need to understand what are the challenges. And then we need to figure out how to fix it. Okay? And I'm speaking from the education institution perspective. This is important issues. If we don't address this, we'll continue to see the drying up the pipeline in terms of new ideas, big innovations, breakthrough, and all that. These are very, very important questions. And all of us in this room have a part in this. Okay? So let's take a look at the challenges. There are actually quite a few of them here. One is career options. The second is the pathway to become a scientist. And of course, even you have a lot of scientists, it still doesn't create the kind of vigor, create a kind of results that we're looking for. And that is, we continue to encourage, nurture, and cultivate and stimulate this what we call big new innovations. Just like what Dr. Fang talked about, the impact of pharmacogenomics and pharmacogenetics affecting a big, segment of the therapeutics in the area of cancer chemotherapy. And the other area we need to look at is the reward system. Is current reward system simulate and then entice the bright minds to get into research, particularly pharmaceutical research. And the other thing we need to think about is the time and cost to gainful readiness. I'm not even talking about gainful employment. I'm just talking about gainful readiness, just being ready to be a pharmaceutical scientist. Just being there and getting ready, the time and cost it takes to get there. And lastly, as with anything else in life, there are choices. And some of these choices are actually very competitive. And they will draw and entice these bright minds to do something else rather than pharmaceutical research. All right? Let's look at the what we call career pathways. Within the pharmaceutical research, and There are three possible options. These scientists can get into the discovery of new drugs. They can go through the clinical development, the clinical trials phase 1, 2, 3, and then the post, drug market research. And finally, they can actually get into the manufacture of drugs, in large, quantity for distributions. All these different options, once a pharmaceutical scientist have them gone through the training, gone through the preparation, and eventually become one of these productive members of the pharmaceutical science research arena. Okay? And each one of these, has its own implication. For example, discovery of new drugs is a very glamorous thing to do, but it also very risky. You can spend 20 years and end up nothing. But you don't know that. You only don't find out 20 years later, oh my God, I spent 20 years, nothing happened. Right? But in the beginning, when you choose to be on that journey, you have all these, great hopes. You have all these, ideas. Right? Well, I mean, you tackle the wrong problem, but you tackle the right problem in the wrong approach. That becomes scary too. Well, maybe something more, how would I say, a sure bet. I'll just, follow the protocol and do some clinical trials and such. So what happened, after 2 or 3 years, you discover that that drug brings forth severe toxicity, and the farmer has to kill it. Well, what happened? This drug had an unacceptable toxicity that is not going to be marketable. Well, this project is over. What happened to the scientists? They're all gone, right? Well, how about just doing this? Drug manufacturing. Well, I have a recipe. I just follow the recipe, and I'm good, right? I'm just good. I was going to focus on, doing the API, purify it, turn it into something great. But there's a lot. It's a very, very crowded field. And then the reward is not as big because it's not that risky in some way. Okay, challenges, career options. How about the other kind? The pathways. How do you become a pharmaceutical scientist? There are actually many different pathways. You can start with being in an academic. Well, I'm a postdoc fellow, right? I'm going to teach in a few classes. I'll do some research on the side. Hopefully, I'll after 5, 6 years, I get a 10-year academic appointment. I'll continue to harness a large number of undergrads, students, bright eyes and great minds, and work under me, and I'll ride the tide and I'll invent something. All right, that's the academic route. How about the farmers? You guys are part of that community, right? Started with being a research assistant, and then become a research technician, become an assistant, then become the chief scientist, then becomes the project manager, and becomes something big, right? How about being part of the upstart commercial research organization? A few years back, they promised to be a $5 billion business. Everybody's thinking that we can be $10 billion business in 5 years. But you know what? The world is really coming after this, pot of gold, and that thing never really break through 10 billion. It's highly competitive. You got U.S., you got European, you got Asia. This is a really crowded field. And there's a lot of consolidations among the CRO as well, too. Government, well, guess what? NIH is cutting spending. It's a tough field, right? Non-profit foundations. Well, there are a couple of them are very big, like the Gates, foundation, right? Throw a lot of money in the billions, but there aren't that many. Of course, there are some pharmaceutical companies that they also have some foundations, and then reinvest, into the in industries. How about the self-employed situation? Well, somehow I got a few bucks, in my pocket. I want to start a new company. Hopefully, one this day I'm going to invent a new drug, a new platform that I can sell. These are different pathways that anyone can lose, along the way. About these young, bright scientists on their way to success. They might exit early because for a variety of reasons. Pathway is another challenge. How about this? The new big innovations. Well, for that to be exciting, you constantly have to have this. Think about, that human genome sequence, back in 2001, when the world announced, Francis Collins and Craig Venters, they both joined hands and announced, now that we have successfully sequenced the human genomes, or the mixture of 5 people. But the reason why it is possible was that Francis Collins, the chief of the NIH, Human Genome Project, he got a 6-year head start. But the sequencing rate is too slow. Never will finish it, in 10 years. The goal was finishing it in 10 years, but not until what? Greg Venter invented a new way of sequencing called shotgun therapy, using the gene loaded inside a gas nitrogen gas tank, and use the differential nozzle pressure to shear the genes into fragments, and using these innovative computer programs, using logic and algorithm to determine the overlap and help them to sequence the gene a lot faster. All right, almost like 5 times faster than what Francis Collins can do in a worldwide consortium. How about these hepatitis C antiviral drugs? For a long time, hepatitis C is not manageable. Now it is up to 98% now cure rate. That's exciting. That all of a sudden these big innovations create, how would I say, vigor, more innovations, more energy, more people want to join. Think about this, 3D drug printing. Heard about that? FDA has recently approved this, a new way of manufacturing drugs. Now, these are what we call breakthrough thinking that will encourage more people to get into the pharmaceutical science and industries. But these kind of big innovation breakthrough are not there every day, right? You don't see that this often. Another kind of challenge is the rewards. How likely some person will become the principal investigator? How likely somebody become a chief scientist of a major pharmaceutical company, and then the project lead for that program? Performance bonuses. The next big project you get assigned to you. How about the Fortune 5 company that you're working for? Not Fortune 100, Fortune 5. The top pharmaceutical firm that you can work for. And lastly, of course, Nobel Prize winner. Now, these are all big deal thing, right? Isn't it? But these are the reward. But it is there, but it's shared among a large number of people, right? Think about that. Another challenge, time and cost to gainful readiness. I talk about this. Just being a competent, productive pharmaceutical scientist. Look at the journey. 5 to 6 years to get a PhD. Now that is after 4 years of undergrad rigorous undergrad in a high-end, elite research university. 5 to 6 years. And then that's not enough. You have to do 2 to 3 more years postdoc, fellowship. During this time, you're eating peanut butter sandwiches. That's just about it. Okay? And then to be part of the elite lab is highly competitive. And then low pay, and then you own a lot of money. You're not even making any money yet, but you own people a lot of money. And lastly, what? A long and certain road for a bright mind. These are all very smart people. Okay. Competing choices. You have a bright mind, I go to medicine. You have a bright mind, be a account sales executive. I make a lot of bonuses. I can be a FDA inspector. I'm going to harass you guys. Turn the table around. I'll be a congressman. Better yet, run for president. There's a lot of good choices. Why do you want to be a pharmaceutical scientist? Torture myself. Okay, remedy. What do we need to do? There are so many challenges. I'm just going to identify a few remedies for us to think about what we can do collectively so that we can widen the pipe so that we get more scientists, greater opportunity for everybody. All right, let's take a look. Well, first of all, before you even do anything, make sure that we talk to these bright minds, the potential researchers. They need to have what? We need to make sure they have patient persistencies. They need to understand what is delayed gratification means. Okay? You just don't have the big bucks today, but you try to learn to understand you might have it next month, next year, the next 5 years, maybe the next 10. Okay? It's coming. Just be patient. All right? And of course, the research universities are very selective in their programs. All right, let's take a look at all these. There are actually quite a number of steps from this to the end. Undergrad education, pre-doc, post-doc, early research development, mid-career, and then senior career. Go through all these stages, now you finally hit it big. Now, and any one of these points can exit. Right? Let's take a look how we want to keep them on track. Start with this. Okay, undergrad, strong, very, very strong, K through 12, STEM program. Make sure they nurture the minds. Make sure we have these undergrad research opportunities. All the universities, industries. We have a part in this. Government, nonprofits. Pre-doc, better pay. Otherwise, they'll do something else. Or they'll become pre-med. When they're pre-med, they're gone. They're gone for good. Graduate research at universities, very, very competitive. Make sure that they have opportunities. And most importantly, nurture their mind. And this is very important. Integral part of their study. Inquiry-based learning is very important. And this is the key. You teach them this, they will love to do research. If you don't have this, they will do something else. Okay, postdoc. Look at this. Possibility. Well, they are going to leave, but keep them longer. All right? Have these joint degree programs. Better pay research and study program in all these areas. Early development, now they're almost there now, from training, education training now, they're crossing over the major divide, the career. What do we need to do? Solving the problem. Okay? Continue to promote more of this, better pay, and then early selection and determination. When you are a preceptor, if you're a mentor, make sure you pick the right people to mentor. Because this is important. You want to have what? The high quality product. In this case, these research scientists. Oops. Now, these two, I combine them together. Continue to solve the problem, compensation issues, advance employment opportunity in all these areas, grant opportunity, tenure is not a solution. When they get tenure, what happened? They all get lazy. No, just kidding. And then getting, reward. Lastly, did all that. All right. The most important is to tell them exactly what needs to happen, the risk, so that they go in there with what? With the right thinking. All right. And then lastly, greater technology transfer opportunity, so that they get a piece of the action. Okay. Some example. Amgen is a good example of undergrad. This NIH, different programs. Teach them how to access the different program for grants. And lastly, financial aids. If we do all that, we solve some of the problems. We'll have a very, very strong, robust supply of pharmaceutical sciences. And that is solving the problem from the what? The human aspect of that, initial research. With that, thank you for your kind attention. Any question? Good.
All right, guys. Thank you.